And the camera is so messed up right now. We're in season 3. This is the last show that we're going to have that's going to talk about like general health topics. So the next few weeks, we're going to have a nice segment on herbs from around the world. And we're going to have special guests coming in or, calling in and talking about herbs from around the world. I even met another sister from Uganda, and she's going to get on with us and talk about African herbs. I met some sisters on Facebook who are going to talk about Caribbean and tropical fruits and vegetables and herbs and all this stuff. I'm so excited. We're going to have that coming up probably the next 2 or 3 weeks or so, or probably next 2 weeks. Yeah. So please look forward to that. All right. So today's show is on Candida. Now, you're probably wondering, or you may have heard of Candida before, but it's kind of a mystery. And I was talking with our guests, and I was saying how a lot of, Candida is everywhere. It's all over the news, Dr. Oz or whoever, these, people are talking about it so much. I don't know anything about Candida, and I choose not to know anything really because it is so in the news so much, and there's so much controversy about it. And there's so many misconceptions about it. People, people say, well, everybody has Candida, or, there's so many different diet. Turn your phones off in the studio. But there's so many different like diet plans. There's so many books. There's probably thousands of books. There's like the good, the bad, and the ugly. What should we eat? What should we not eat? And there's also these extreme cases of like flush and things that our children can get, babies can get. It's everywhere, and it's linked to so many different other things. It can be linked to breast cancer. It can be linked to, yeast infections or IBS or, all these different things. So it's kind of hard to understand it at a simple level. And so, as you know, if you've been watching or listening to the Herbal Intellect show, that we try to break everything down here. We try to make it simple and give you the facts and not try to push one side or the other, even though we are, into natural medicine here. And then there's things like, the 10 signs that you have Candida and stuff like that. Like, why is it 10? Why not, I don't know. It's just like a sexy thing out there right now. But we're going to break it down. We have Miss Lavender Moon here, and I don't know if Tay Queen is going to come on, but hopefully she'll get on with us. And we also want to bring in like more of a spiritual and energy side to this, because Miss Lavender Moon, she is training in Chinese medicine. And so, as we know, like ancient traditional medicine, that perspective is totally different from what we know is in Western medicine. Basically in traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, hormones basically don't exist at all. Like, that's not even something they even talk about. So it's a totally different mindset, and we're going to bring in some of those topics today as well. And it's like, your mental state and your physical state, and then there's like this energy state that's in between that. And it gets kind of complicated, but you kind of open up your mind to a new way of thinking about your body and about health if you're able to, think about your energy and how it flows through your body as chi, or whatever you want to call it, as light. It's a new way of thinking, and it opens up your mind, and we're going to touch on those things today with Miss Lavender Moon. So who is Miss Lavender Moon? She is a wonderful sister. I'm so happy and blessed that I found her on Facebook, and really thankful that she was able to come on with us this afternoon. But Miss Lavender Moon, aka Miss Tiffany Chamaroke, if I'm saying it right, I hope. She began her company Tincture Incorporated in 2010 in Berkeley, California. And she's the mother of 3 beautiful children, and she has traveled to North Africa, Middle East, Europe, Central America, and she holds a bachelor's degree in urban studies and a master's in cultural anthropology. And she is now in her 3rd year to complete a bachelor's degree in nutrition and a master's in oriental medicine. She is also a DONA certified birth doula. I'm also getting certified as a doula, and she has trained as a postpartum doula. And she's certified with Awakening Vitality, big shout out to Miss Charisse at Awakening Vitality, and she's also an herbalist. She is a certified Usui level 2 Reiki practitioner. She's also a certified level 2 Kemetic Reiki practitioner, and she's certified in Hatha Yoga as an instructor. And so her company, Tincture Incorporated, is in Chicago, Illinois. So please check her out. Check out her website, and go say hey if you're in the area. But thank you so much, Miss Tiffany. You want to come on and just do an introduction, introduce yourself, and then we'll get into some of your questions for today.
Hi, yes, thank you for having me on the call. I think this is a wonderful show, and I appreciate you having me here. Thank you for the invite.
Very happy that you can make it. All right, so let's get into the topic for today, and hopefully Miss Tay Queen will come on in a second, but she can chime in on some of these things as well. So what is Candida? Let's just get a good generalized definition that we can all just somebody asks us as healers or as friends and family, I heard about this Candida, what is that? What can we tell people? What in your opinion, what is it?
So Candida is basically it's a yeast-like fungus that can come from overgrowth or overconsumption of foods that are filled with, in Chinese medicine terms, I'll say filled with dampness and heat, that will cause those symptoms in the body. So it's a yeast-like fungus. So in Western terms, we would just call it yeast. It's also known as Candida albicans. So yeah, and it can actually cause fatigue or digestive disorders and vaginal yeast infections, which is really, really common.
Right, very, very common. So those would be some of the symptoms would be like yeast infections or what was something else that you said?
Like
digestive problems. Okay. And so I know it's prevalent in, the general population, but do you know specifics on maybe how Black people are more or less, susceptible to a Candida overgrowth?
I would say yes to that, just on the basis of diet.
Right.
In African American communities, I believe there are a ton of food deserts throughout the nation. And so with food deserts, there's always poor choices in food just by not having access to healthier food choices. So Candida is definitely a culprit in the Black community and the African American community. And, it tends to manifest itself when there's poor diet. So, yeah.
Right, because the fungus is a natural fungus that we live with on a daily basis, right? It's not something that we take on from eating, rotten meat or something like that. It's a what's the word I'm looking for? It is not cumulative. It's inside in a symbiotic relationship with our other bacteria and fungus that actually live on our bodies and in our bodies, correct?
Well, we have good bacteria and we have bad bacteria. And Candida is one of those bacteria that can manifest and actually grow and spread throughout the body. So therefore, when it spreads like that, it can be very, very bad. I'll call it a very bad bacteria. So,
yeah. Well, I guess we should make sure we understand, don't confuse, I guess, like the good bacteria. I mean, when you hear bacteria in general, you automatically think that it's bad, but we do have, bacteria that live in our gut and lives on our skin and everything else. But we also have, the fungus too, right? Because it's hard to distinguish between the bacteria and the fungus, and because they all, are microscopic little things we can't really see. But as soon as they get out of whack, then that's when the problem occurs. The bad bacteria, if they overgrow in your gut, then you're going to have issues with gas and bloating and bad breath and stuff like that, diarrhea and all those things. So the same thing happens with this Candida. it's living, it's fine, but then once it's out of balance, then that's when the issues come. That's when you have the yeast infections and all that stuff, which is not good. But we're gonna get into some of the remedies that we can do to prevent and to treat ourselves, heal ourselves from something like that. So what are some signs? Like if what are some basic signs that can kind of make you think, okay, maybe I need to stop eating so much of this X, Y, or Z, and you can fill in the blank on what you think that is. And because I think it may be causing me to have some yeast infection, or and what are some of the signs that people have if they are out of whack when it comes to our fungus Candida?
So Candida, like I said before, we have good bacteria and we have bad bacteria in our bodies. And Candida, we have in order for our pH levels to be balanced, we have a certain amount of Candida cells in our pH system. And when that is out of balance, as you said earlier, that can arise or manifest in different symptoms, or even diseases, right? Disorders in the body, within the organs. And so I believe that when you have, certain symptoms that are common that show up are, you may have extra plaque on your teeth. You may notice that there might be a extra phlegm on your teeth, or your tongue may be white. You may have, like you said, bad breath. You may also, like another symptom could be that you're having some issues with your digestion. You're not going as regularly. You may notice, if you're a female, you may notice that you may have extra vaginal discharge.
That's like one of the first signs.
Or you may have, you may even have maybe some vaginal itching. You may be extra tired. That could be another another symptom, or that people may have and not know. A lot of these symptoms you may not even connect the two with having Candida.
Right.
It may be, you may just think, oh, well, I stayed up really late, or I just didn't brush my teeth today. But really, it always starts with like very, very mild symptoms, which can then grow into, as the bacteria spreads, as the Candida the Candida cells multiply and they spread throughout the body, then you may notice more harsh symptoms like the vaginal discharge and itching. Or the serious digestive issues. So those are more serious, I would say, once it's has spread throughout the body.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm glad we're getting into this, because a lot of us have those problems, bad breath, or those don't seem like there's something. Those are things that we, 1 out of 10 people have. No, probably 9 out of 10 people have bad breath, or plaque on their teeth, or being tired. There's so many different things that could cause that, but one of them could be overgrowth of this fungus, Candida. So that's why we're bringing this to your attention. Something to, we're not trying to put fear into people's minds, just educate. So yeah, but those are good symptoms to look for, or signs to look for. And something else I forgot to say, or I'm forgetting to say. But anyway, so what about, how do people usually go about treating the Candida? So you figure out that you have this problem. What are some of the treatments that are available? Over-the-counter medications, or prescriptions, antibiotics, or just things that people do in their diet. What is the norm that people go through to try to, remedy this, or anything that you've heard of?
So typically, there are, in Western medicine, antibiotics is a number one culprit. So if someone gets sick and they go to their doctor, their doctor prescribes them antibiotics to overcome whatever sickness it was, and then all of a sudden they come down with symptoms of excess yeast growth, and that can be, you might take antibiotics. If you're female, you may take antibiotics, and then all of a sudden a week later you have vaginal discharge and itching, which is a very common symptom for vaginal yeast infection. Right. So so antibiotics is a culprit. Chemotherapy through people who have cancer, they may go through chemotherapy bouts, and they will report that they have serious overgrowth of Candida or again vaginal yeast infections, and that can be a recurring vaginal yeast infection, a yeast infection that just doesn't go away.
Right. Okay.
Hormone replacements like
estrogen
and steroids. Yes, those things are definite Western medicine culprits that can contribute to the overgrowth of yeast or Candida. Oral contraceptives, so birth control pills. All right.
Yeah, I read about that. I'm like, what? How does this? It's just so much. It just tires me out.
Yeah. It's like that's a side effect of taking birth control pills. So, you may take the pill to prevent pregnancy, but at the same time, you may be dealing with a recurring yeast infection as well. So vaginal yeast infection.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think that's just so interesting to me. Like, I understand, like, as a scientist, I understand, okay, taking antibiotics is anti, meaning, stop, block, no, anti, you're going to kill the bacteria, right? Biotic, you're killing the living things in your body. And it's going to kill the fungus and bacteria and all that. So that makes sense to me. Okay, you're taking that, you're killing the bacteria. So the bad bacteria or the things that are resistant, to that antibiotic, they're going to go crazy. They're going to be growing because they have more food, everything around them, their competition is gone. They're going to go crazy. So yeah, you might have more Candida or, have an overgrowth of the bad. But when it comes to like oral contraceptives, which they work on the hormones, I don't see how that, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate because I do understand it, but just why does that cause, or why is that considered a cause of something like Candida? It just seems so strange, but I want people to understand it just so they are aware of it, because probably, 90% of the women in this country at least take some type of contraceptive. Like, do you have any information on how that actually affects your fungus in your body, in your gut, whatever?
So one thing that comes to mind is, biopharmaceutical companies, they use a lot of synthetics and a lot of, unnatural substances to create or mimic natural substances.
Right.
So this is, a lot of times our bodies could be reacting to an allergy of the synthetic pharmaceutical pill or, medication that we may be taking.
Right.
Also what comes to mind is there may be, not just an allergy or an allergic reaction, but also, having a synthetic in your body can throw off your natural balance, your natural pH balance. And when that happens, then you have an imbalance, and your body responds to that. And it can respond and manifest in different ways, whether that's through Candida or some other type of disorder.
Okay. And that brings another point. Like, I did a little bit of research before the show, and I saw something about stress as well. Now, in the past shows, we've talked about stress a lot. I talked about it in my workshop and all that, but definitely they said, and this is one thing that I do agree with out of like a lot of the the mess that's on the internet about Candida, but stress is also something that can lead to an overgrowth of Candida, because your immune system basically drops when you're when you're stressed, overstimulated, and you're out of balance, like you said. So is that, do you have any more information about how that works?
Absolutely. So if when your immune system is low, it definitely makes you more prone to Candida.
Right. Okay.
And an overgrowth of Candida. That is for sure.
Okay.
Even in Chinese medicine. So,
okay.
And there are different ways to handle stress through Chinese medicine.
Okay.
There's different ways, and I think we can talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that
as we get further. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's open up the chat room. Well, we have the chat room open. If you want to log on to Nubiahood Radio and give us some of your questions and comments, we'll get to the chat room at the end of the show. If you want to call in, it's the number is 323-815-8729. That's 323-815-8729, and press 0. Listen to the nice music that Marcus put together on his beats. Miss Tiffany said that it sounded like the djembe drum a little bit. Anyway, okay, so let's continue on here. So I understand that you actually battled with and conquered Candida, right, in your own personal life. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us, maybe beginning, middle, and end of how you went through that, in your own words. I really like to hear that, and because people like to relate to things and see how other people can overcome this. It's not something to be scared of. No disease or dis-ease in your body is something to be scared of. It's something that is passing through. It's not yours to take on. It's not yours to possess. It's something that is just passing through you. You can get over any dis-ease, even cancer. So don't even, don't be scared of it. Let it come in and let it go, But anyway, sorry, go ahead and tell your story.
Absolutely. Okay. So I definitely experienced Candida, an overgrowth of Candida, which was really taking more control over my life than I had over it. So one of the ways that I started to change things up was through my diet and my just my overall health. And so this was about maybe 15 years ago now, and I had decided to go. I'm going to go about 12 years ago. I decided that I was going to have change my diet up from vegetarian to raw food. So I made some lifestyle changes and went and I bought a juicer, and I started buying fresh fruits and vegetables, and really started this whole raw food thing. Yeah. I was going to try it, and
that's great.
I did eat during that time. I ate a lot of seaweed and a lot of greens and a lot of citrus fruits. And, and I did that for about 3 years. And I remember a friend of mine, she came to visit me, and she said, "Whoa, total transformation. I had lost extra belly weight. My skin was clearer. I really transformed." But I came to find out even later in my journey that my Candida overgrowth was attributed from using birth control pills. And I was taking birth control pills for about 4 years before I became a raw food person. And even after I had stopped taking the birth control pills, I still had the symptoms of yeast. And I at the time, I didn't even know that the two were connected. Had no idea. And even after I had stopped taking birth control pills, and I was on this health journey of, raw food, I was still battling with the yeast overgrowth. And it wasn't until about a year into my raw food journey that I started to feel better and noticed that my symptoms were lifting and that I was feeling better.
It took about a year.
Because
wow.
when you have, you know, a year of like cleaning out my system. But I will say that that was a long period of suffering, you know, 5 years of having a yeast infection that would not go away is a long time to suffer. And I would go to the doctor. I would tell you, I would go to my Western doctor, and, you know, she would tell me, oh, you know, it's a yeast infection. We're going to give you this antibiotic. And then that antibiotic wouldn't work, and I'd be right back at the doctor like 3 weeks later. With the same issue and a different antibiotic prescription and no relief. So it was ongoing.
Wow.
And then eventually I gave up on taking the antibiotics. So that's kind of my story. And I just, you know, I have 3 children. So my oldest is 8. So it's been about 10 years now, and I've been yeast Candida free. So.
Wonderful. Yes, that's beautiful. And speaking on 2 things, the 2 topics that you brought up, healing. It took you a year to heal yourself from this and to release it. That's something that people don't really understand. They want that pill, they want that antibiotic that takes 7 days. You take it, you know, 3 times a day for 7 days, then you're supposed to be cured. You know, you're supposed to get rid of it. People think that they have that in their mind, and they think and want that all the time when it comes to healing. It doesn't happen overnight when it comes to natural healing, and that's something that people say all the time. But if you don't live it and do it, you won't experience it. I mean, it's just as simple as that.
Right.
And you know, but in the long run, when it's over and done, you will feel so much more healed than you would if you were to take that 7-day pill. You know, you're healing yourself from so many different things when you become a raw foodist, or when you start to just exercise and do all these things that take time and effort. And, you know, it's not something that you just take a pill for. And, yeah, that's something that we need to keep saying to our children and saying to ourselves, that, you know, natural is the way to go, because it's going to heal so many different issues. I mean, like, our entire body is so complex. You know, you've built up this dis-ease or this imbalance in yourself over 5, 10, 15 years. It's not going to take just one pill in 7 days to get it over with. So I'm glad you brought that up. And then also the antibiotics issue. Like, I've had yeast infections before in the past. I haven't had one. I don't even know, since like maybe probably another 10 years too, or something like that. I don't even remember, because you know, but it's been a long time. But I remember taking antibiotics as well, and they would make me nauseated. I have a very weak stomach anyway, and I have a lot of I'm a Cancer, so, you know, all this water energy, and so I get very emotional. So that's already something that's we're going to get into a little bit of that, hopefully. But that's my energy. And so, you know, taking something like that, really like killing all that bacteria, you know, good and bad, because it doesn't discriminate. Those pills do not discriminate between good and bad. And so killing all that really put me in a total imbalance where I feel very sick, and I had to stay out of school. This is when I was in college, and, you know, it affects your whole life doing something like that. If you're on a raw food journey, or a natural health, natural healing, herbal journey, you know, you don't have to go through stuff like that. You're not going to be vomiting after, you know, drinking a green smoothie, okay? So, you know, it's just a totally different mindset when you start to think like we do, you know, about health. Okay, we got a few questions in the chat room. I'm going to get to your questions at the end of the show, the last 15 minutes or so. But let's now get into the Chinese medicine. I'm so excited because Chinese medicine is just so fascinating to me. It really is. Like, I went to this acupuncturist a few weeks ago because I had a eczema came to me, and I went to an acupuncturist to help my body get back into balance. And when I left that room, I felt like I had been drugged with, and all she did was stick some pins in me. And people don't realize how powerful that is. And I know you're not going to, we're not going to talk about that part of Chinese medicine, but just it is a very, very, very powerful medicine. Their herbs and their acupuncture and, their martial arts, all that stuff is so powerful. And it comes from Africa too. So take it on as yours. Don't think that it's something Chinese, something strange. I don't like Chinese people. They are trying to, take over the economy, or they're stealing our money. No, like they have a rich history that is beautiful, and it stems from Africa, and we should accept it as our own and practice it. So anyway, so let's, you're studying to be, you're studying Chinese herbs and Chinese herbalism. What is like the traditional Chinese medicine view and take on Candida and that issue? In your opinion, you don't have to look it up in one of your books or anything. Just from what you've learned. Uh-huh.
So let's see. Chinese medicine really, everything must be in balance in order to be in good health. And so, with fungal overgrowth or Candida, it's really just about bringing your body back into balance. So there's in Chinese medicine, we have yin-yang theory, which is really bringing the body back into balance. And there is a very nice little analogy for that. And it's, one side of the mountain is shady, and that is your yin side. One of the other side of the mountain is sunny, and that is your yang side. So right in the middle there should be a line, and that will be your balance. And
I love that.
That is yeah, I like that a lot, and this is a good analogy for me to use when I talk about bringing the body back into balance. In Western medicine, we only know balance as, our pH levels. Our pH levels balanced. But really, Chinese medicine stems from nature, and it has a very Taoist, very much Taoist influence. So that means that, Taoism is based on the cycles of nature, and everything in nature must be balanced in order for it to work, right? And everything to be in harmony. So this is the theory of, this is the basis, the foundation for Chinese medicine. And even with Candida, we have to have, our body must be in balance. Otherwise we suffer with overgrowth of imbalance of Candida.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. That's a great way of putting it there. Everything has to be in balance. And we, the language that we use, like instead of saying just you have Candida, no, we should say there's an overgrowth of Candida in my body or something like that, because it's about that overgrowth. It's about that balance that is something's out of whack, and it's easier to, I think, to treat and to understand and to accept and imbalance instead of like a actual illness, like we are just totally down and that's it. It seems more concrete and resolute when you think about it that way, and that's harder to come out of. It's harder to come out of that thinking, or that illness is taking you over when you think of it as something that's concrete and that's it. So when you think of an imbalance, it's more like a seesaw, and you kind of are floating, and something that you can easily kind of kick back into shape. So I think that that's a good way of thinking about any disease or any problem as an imbalance, and I think this Candida is a perfect example of that. All right, so now into the good stuff. Yay, the herbs. So can you kind of give us some herbs? So go ahead and get your pens and pencils out, or and paper and everything out if you want to take some notes on this part. We're gonna spit off the herbs and tell us why you or why these herbs are good for treating something like an overgrowth of fungus. Can you go ahead and give us that information for us?
Sure. Okay, so before I get before I get too deep into the herbs, I would just want to say there are, I have two formulas really would be good. And one is for the most common vaginal yeast infection formula. And so one, I will tell you, a lot of the Chinese herbs, as I was telling you earlier, is that we have, you know, in Chinese medicine, it shares a lot of the very same herbs that Western medicine has. There are only, you know, there are a few that can only be found in China, and you know, but a lot of these herbs that I'm going to tell you and share with you are common to find here.
Okay, great.
Your local health food store. So
great, yeah.
There's Genetian, which is you know, this Genetian is really good for promoting a balanced digestive system. Skull cap is really good. It clears out toxins of the body. Cardamom is really good. And let's see, cardamom is actually really good because it strengthens the stomach and it releases damp heat, and also moves the chi in the body.
Okay, it's warming, right?
Yeah, it's warming, but it moves the chi, so it doesn't, the heat that it brings does not linger in the system. Gardenia, as in the flower, gardenia. This helps with, in Chinese medicine, it helps to get rid of the excess dampness. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the symptoms of Candida is like excess plaque on the teeth. You may notice your teeth are sticky, like a sticky white film. That is known as phlegm or excess dampness.
Mucus.
So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So gardenia is really good for that. There's akebia, which it's a bitter herb, and it cools the body. So Candida, it actually, in Chinese medicine, Candida is from a condition of excess damp and heat. In the, and so this particular herb, it cools the body, it cools the stomach, and it removes the heat from the body. Plantain. Plantain is this one is really good because it also kind of does very similar. So it clears the heat and removes the dampness from the body. And this is really important in Chinese medicine. I don't want to confuse any of the listeners. But as I said before, you know, Candida is a condition of stomach and spleen heat and dampness in the body. So in order for one to use these herbs to overcome it, basically this formula that I'm giving you is really to cleanse out the system first.
Okay, right. Yes, definitely.
So you're cleaning out toxins, the heat, and the dampness, which can Candida. So then there is an herb called alisma, which is it's a diuretic. It promotes the urination. So it physically cleanses your system. Like it physically allows you to release the damp and heat through your urine. Which is really good. There's also Rehmannia, which is it cleanses the blood, and it's really important that you know, as you're cleansing, that you do clean your blood. I know in Western medicine, Western herbs, chlorophyll does the same thing. So Angelica, which Angelica root actually tonifies the blood, so this is really important in this formula, as well as licorice. Licorice tonifies the spleen and chi, and clears the heat from the stomach and spleen. So with that formula, it's really important to use that formula to clean your system. Cleaning the system meaning cleaning the stomach and the spleen, and to also push all the toxins out. So you're basically getting rid of the toxins, and it's killing the bacteria as it goes. One really good Western herb, which is also used in Chinese medicine, is its name is philodendra. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it kills overgrowth. Actually kills the yeast overgrowth.
Wow.
And yeah, that's one of the most powerful ingredients in this formula to assist with cleaning and getting rid of Candida. So
that is interesting. Philodendron or philodendrons, those are like houseplants. There's a lot. I mean, we have one at home. It's a philodendron. It's the one that has the little holes in its leaves. I can't remember what it's called, but there's like hundreds of them. Philodendrons, they're basically like houseplants. People should be taking these things. You can buy them at Lowe's.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess you get the right kind, the right strain or whatever. But yeah,
interesting. This actually kills the yeast overgrowth.
Wow.
But it's important to use that along with the others, like the angelica, the cardamom, the licorice, because it works all together. Just having one is not going to do the job. And it's not just taking these herbs. So it really would be working with changing your diet as well as taking these herbs to assist in the total cleansing and removal of the Candida.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because people think that, just like I said, people think one pill, one herb, that's it. No, these herbs, we were talking about this on the way here to the studio, like your whole body is so complex. And that's how I view almost everything. When I do consultations with people, I try to do like a plan for them, to detox first, to get all those toxins out so you can receive all the goodness that you will get from the foods that you eat if you change your diet, which you should be doing, and the herbs that you'll take, because it's going to be hard to battle. You want to put in all these good things, but you have a lot of toxins, a lot of buildup in your body if you've been eating trash for a long time. So you need to detox first. You need to get all that stuff out, cleanse your system, and that's a wonderful formula that you gave. And then go ahead and take the herbs that are going to actually help you. What I do is the build is the next step. So you build upon what you have, make it strong, make it ready to fight anything. And then after that, take toning type herbs, things that will help you just balance yourself throughout any ups and downs, stress or whatever might come your way. Your system's already there. You don't have to worry about anything. So that's a great way of looking at it. Just cleanse first and do it alongside changing your diet.
Yes. I'm sorry. I was going to also add to that, and just reinstate that this is it's a two-step process. So cleansing the body and then tonifying, tonifying the body. And there are herbs for that. So I have the formula for that as well.
Okay.
And it's, ginseng, the licorice again, the cardamom, these all tonify the chi and the spleen and the stomach. And there's one called the costus root, which regulates and moves the chi. So that's also really good. That formula, so basically you would take the cleansing formula that I gave, and when you've completed taking that, then you want to tonify your body with the ginseng, the licorice, the cardamom, and the costus root. And those are actually that process of that two-step process of cleansing and tonifying will definitely help with removing the Candida and preventing it from coming back.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, great. Have you heard of, well, really quickly, we want to get to the chat room in a second, but what about ginseng? Ginseng or ginsha? What is it called? Ginseng. Yes, ginseng is another Chinese herb that's a bitter. You talked about bitter herbs and how they're good for cleansing as well. Ginseng, I think, is really good. We use it a lot. And combine that with something like dried orange peel, because you talked about citrus fruits and how they can kind of help you also battle the Candida. Because the real issue is, too much flour and sugar and starch and things like that. That's feeding the Candida. That's what they eat, basically, the bacteria as well as the fungus. They're eating that sugar, so having things that are more alkaline and a little bit more acidic too, like citrus fruits can be, and then having that bitter taste in there will definitely, help, right?
Absolutely. A lot of the herbs that I mentioned earlier for the cleansing and the tonifying, most of those are bitter herbs, and the bitter herbs are what will cleanse and tonify Candida. It'll kill the bacteria.
Right. Okay. I think that's what someone asked about in the chat room. Are there any teas that we can drink? So, take your pick. But go with those formulas, and you can make teas out of them or tinctures, and there's plenty of information about that for both of us as herbalists and online, and previous shows on here as well. What about like things like kombucha and pickles? Like fermented type foods, because we're changing our diets. There's like these high probiotic yogurts and kefir milk and kombucha. I heard that, or I saw online, that people that actually take too much of that can also have an overgrowth of the Candida as well. Have you heard that or seen that, or is that something that in Chinese foods? Okay.
Yeah. So fermented foods are definitely, they hold bacteria, and they already have an overgrowth, and you're continuing to take foods that have bacteria in there, it can manifest and spread more rapidly.
Okay.
So by, you have to have everything in moderation too. So
exactly.
Not having, the kombucha every single day, or cutting back on your fermented pickles, or or even, or tempeh or miso, or those types of foods, or even, having like mushrooms, or
that's interesting.
Or even beer. Sometimes people are like, oh, I drink one beer every day. Those are fermented foods. All of those things are fermented foods or beverages, and can contribute to overgrowth of Candida. So it's important to not just cut back, but to really eliminate those foods if you really want to overcome overgrowth of yeast.
Yeah, we're going to have you back on the show to talk about your raw food diet, because a lot of people talk about it, want to be about it, like me, but haven't done it yet. I mean, I'm vegan, but I haven't gone the raw vegan yet. So, but that's something that also will help with so many different things, but definitely this overgrowth we're talking about. So, all right. So real quick, the last thing I want to say is that there is something out there as well that I hope that you also agree with this. Black seed oil. I read that black seed oil is basically the surefire way of getting rid of Candida as well, because they say it's like the miracle oil for all problems ever invented. but black seed oil, if you add in that to your herbal remedies, the formulas that she gave, that's something that can also help out as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the chat room. Let's see who has the best question. No, we're going to go through all of them. Okay. So what cause? Oh, can you repeat what you said about the synthetic products or your pH balance? So I think you talked about that earlier in the show, about how there are synthetic products in the birth control pills, correct?
Right. So with any of the the pharmaceutical companies. So when you go to your doctor and you have an issue, what typically happens in Western medicine is that symptoms with synthetics. They're treating your symptoms. You might go to the doctor and say, oh, I have a cough and I have this and this is. Really, they don't do much to sort of help you overcome that. They will treat the symptoms. Okay, you're having this symptom, so we'll give you this medication. So those medications, those prescription medications that are given are filled with synthetics. And the synthetics they're designed to mimic or target. They're designed to first mimic a natural herb or a natural plant medicine. And then they are also designed to only treat a specific part of what is going on. Western medicine it's not very holistic in the approach that it's more of physical. They don't really tie into, mind, body, spirit.
Right.
So, so they're only they're isolating and only treating, symptom by symptom with these synthetic drugs. And so a lot of times what can happen with synthetic drugs is that you might be allergic to, it might have, one of their side effect reactions to that synthetic drug. A lot of times, when we read the fine print on prescription drugs, we'll find that, it has at least 5 different side effects, and affect your body in different ways. And it's so generic, and each of us are individuals that we have overall we have the same system, but at the same time some of us may be more sensitive to certain chemicals and synthetic drugs. So
exactly, yeah,
that's really important.
Yes, very, very good advice. Yeah, that's exactly what they do. They just they take out that one thing in the herb, the one constituent in that herb, and market it, patent it, sell it, and expect it to treat everybody the same way. That's not the case. It's never worked, it never will work. But they're making money off of it because we're buying it. So this is what this show is about: getting educated, how to treat yourself, heal yourself without the use of pharmaceuticals. You're definitely right on with that. Thank you for bringing that up, because good reminder. Let's see what else is here. Can Candida be life-threatening? That is a great question. In your opinion?
So Candida, what can happen is that when you have too much of an overgrowth, it can actually slow down the proper functioning of your organs. So the spleen is a very important organ because, in Chinese medicine, it's a very important organ because it helps to regulate your food and your digestive system. So when you have an imbalanced digestive system, that can trigger other issues to occur. One major digestive issue that's caused by imbalance for a very long period of time, and more than likely is Crohn's disease. Crohn's disease affects the large intestine, and it also affects the digestive tract and system, meaning that when you take in food and you're eating and you're digesting the food, it takes a toll on, and when I say it takes a toll, I mean it really does overwork the spleen, which then has to work extra hard to send everything down to your large intestine. And then your large intestine is then overtaxed and overworked by trying to push the food and the toxins through. Exactly. So, it definitely can cause, overworking of certain organs. And when you have an overworked organ, whether it's the spleen or the large intestine, what can happen, what usually happens in Western medicine is surgery, right? So they're moving part of your intestine, or they're, shrinking the stomach, or they're, removing one of the kidneys. There's different things that can occur, that we hear a lot of in Western medicine. So is it harmful? Can someone die from overgrowth of Candida? It can definitely manifest itself in different ways, which can then, shut down the function of certain organs and possibly the loss of certain organs. So yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. Okay. I understand exactly where you're going with that. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. And that's what they want to do, is take everything out. Let's see here. And I make jokes about things just because I think it's just so ridiculous, but it's really serious. This is a serious issue. A lot of that is serious. So, let's see. So can it be diagnosed as more? Okay, can it be more serious? Okay, we kind of talked about that. And you can pronounce it Candida or Candida. So is there an equivalent male Candida or Candida? Well, it's just one. I mean, women are more affected with it because it can grow. The pH imbalance can occur in the vaginal area, and that can lead to the yeast infection. So it's more prominent, more prevalent, and more noticeable. But anybody can get an overgrowth of this. It's not a male or female issue. Correct? Do you agree with that?
Right. In men, it tends to manifest itself through prostate disorders.
Okay.
So Candida for men, overgrowth of Candida can actually affect the prostate. So it's really important for men to watch their diets and to also take care of themselves. And you can use the same formula that I mentioned earlier to treat Candida if you are male and you have that.
Okay, good, great. And the last question was about ghee. So ghee is like the clarified butter that is used in a lot of Indian dishes, and castor oil can help purge the body of Candida. Have you heard of that before? Either one of those, castor oil or ghee. I guess taking it internally.
This is, I haven't heard of ghee actually for treating Candida, but I have heard of the black seed oil, and I wouldn't be surprised if it has very similar effects for killing it. But I'm not familiar with that, and not familiar with that in Chinese medicine either. So
okay.
I'll have to research that.
Yeah, me too. Okay, I haven't heard that either. So real quick, if anybody's listening in the Inland Empire area, we're going to have a workshop coming up this end of the month, but I hope that after that we can actually take a trip to Chinatown in Los Angeles and go through there. Maybe we can pick up, if you have your list, of the herbs that Miss Tiffany is talking about. We can, get some of them and make your formula. That's something that we're planning to do with Synapti Botanicals. But if you're anywhere in the world and there's a Chinatown near you, or at least an hour drive distance, try to go by there and see, what they have. You'll be very, very surprised of all the different herbs they have. It's a wonderful experience to talk with them and take a list. Maybe we'll post a list somewhere on Facebook or something like that of the Chinese name and the English name for different herbs, like I'm trying to think of a good one right now. Danshin, yeah. Oh, you can give a list? Great. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll send you guys the list, and that would you guys can use that.
Yeah, that would be awesome, because when you go in there, you got to know what you're talking about now. You can't just be in there saying whatever. And no, you need to say it in Chinese, or at least try it, or at least have it written down so they can see it and so they'll know what you want, because they're serious now. They're serious about their herbs, and you want to get the best thing. You want to get the right thing, because there's many different herbs that have similar names in Chinese. So you don't want to get the wrong thing, So that would be awesome if you can get us a list. But you definitely want to try to do that, or at least in your spare time, if you're near any Chinese or Chinatown or Chinese herbal store, check one of them out. You'll be happy you did. All right, so I guess that's the end of today's show. But if you have any books or resources, I'm sure you have plenty and many, since you're going through the process of the program and everything. But what are some good things or good resources we can use or find online or in our bookstores that you can give us to help us give more information on this topic and Chinese medicine as well?
So, there's a book that really kind of breaks down the whole philosophical and metaphysical aspect of Chinese medicine. So it's more easy to understand. It's called the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Medicine.
Okay.
The Yellow Emperor's Classic of Medicine. And it's by Mao Xing Ni, who's a PhD in herbal Chinese medicine. And there's a website that I really like, because it's very, very easy to use, and it kind of breaks things down. But it's called the Yin Yang House. Yin Yang House, or some people say Yin Yang. Yin Yang House.com. So those are two resources that will break down Chinese medicine for those of you listening, so that it's easy to understand.
Okay, great. Yeah, and we'll post those on the website under nubiahoodradio.com/blogs on our blog, and on Facebook as well. So definitely put that up there so you can go back as a reference. And yes, our shows are recorded and they're put onto iTunes. So subscribe to us on iTunes. You can get the updates whenever the show is actually available. It's usually a day or two. We have to edit things and all that. So, go on iTunes, get the updates. Also go on to nubiahoodradio.com/blogs. And all of our shows from our whole entire Nubiahood Radio team are up there. You can listen to them as, they're archived on there for you. So you won't miss anything. All right. Is there anything else you want to plug? Your website, your business? You want to give us any promotions that you have, or any information on yourself that, contact information, anything else you want to share before we head on out this afternoon?
So if you need more info, you can check out my website at tinctureholistics.com. And I also recently hooked up with an organization called Black Girls in Ohm, which really supports wellness, and it's actually going to be it's actually already launched, and it's basically hosting workshops in various cities throughout the country. Chicago, Atlanta, Philadelphia, New York, LA, and did I say Chicago? Chicago too.
Okay.
You can check blackgirlsinohm.com for more information. And I do workshops through them, and I also host classes and on different healing modalities. So check me out. And I'm also on Facebook. Go by Lavender Moon, so you can look me up.
All right, great. Thank you so much for joining us today. This was a wonderful, wonderful show. I'm so glad that we got to get this topic out there and clear up some misunderstandings about this problem. It doesn't seem so scary now. I feel like we can kind of tackle it. So I really appreciate you being on and talking with us about it. And we have to connect again and keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Great. Well, have a wonderful weekend, and thank you all for listening out there. Stay tuned for Tuesday's show with the audiobook Blueprint for Black Power with Mr. Marcus. He's over here laughing at me. On Tuesday at 7 o'clock. All right. Peace, everyone. It's playing.
Inspiration, it's a healing of the nation. I'm Mr. Herbal, it's a healing of the nation. I no one no tetracycline and no ampicillin, no, not Tylenol nor no penicillin. Yes. All me need is herbal healing. To take care of my body and to tone up my skin. Aloe vera what me drinking early morning with molasses and listen before the start. With a little bit of golden seal after me. Ever ready goody, just natural and real. Herb, it's a healing and the nation, shot. Herb, it's a healing and the nation. I hear me sing, say Lord, say this I want it and the Herbal up here. Come here, me darling, and listen me dear.